Alright, this video is titled Silver Thursday, and that is referring to Thursday, March 27th, 1980. This is the day that on COMEX, silver reached an all-time high of $50.35 per troy ounce in 1980. This is something everyone's talking about now, and the way the market is, and that. Going berserk. Everyone keeps referring, I guess, to this, and there were several other points from that 1980 until now, okay, where silver's kind of jumped up, but not that high. I think that's the record. Alright, my part in this, like I told you in the introduction of this channel, at that time, 1979 is when I graduated from high school. I was 17 years old. I was working part-time jobs in a couple gun shops and that, and I moved on from one to the other, and there was this one shop, and basically these people did a lot of business with the one place I worked, and when I left there they offered me a job, and what it was, the name of the company was Fort Schuyler Tobacco Traders. It was run by two guys, two partners. One of them, his family ran a jewelry store downtown, and his father had a very nice place, high-end jewelry store, well respected. But his son was a commercial airline pilot, and then once he got divorced, his career got sabotaged, and he ended up having to go and do the old family trade. He was a very skilled jeweler. Okay, he knew the trade, and he taught me a lot about it. Okay, he was combined with Bob, who Bob did a lot of different strange things, but basically ran a tobacco shop. So there was a humidor, tobacco, all this other stuff. One guy had an FFL, they sold guns. So they had jewelry, tobacco, pipe tobacco, antiques, curiosities, all kinds of bizarre stuff in this little tiny shop in the center of the city. Okay. And being a jewelry counter, he is buying and selling gold and silver. Okay, so I was there as, the assistant. That's how I got into it. So what happened back then? Okay, I'll tell you what Silver Thursday is, and I'll tell you what kind of trading and what went on then in reality, and how it's a lot different now than it was back then. Okay, Silver Thursday, and this is the Hunt brothers, and this was a big deal back then. Okay, Silver Thursday was the event that occurred in the United States commodities market Thursday, 27th. Like I said, silver went up to $50.35 an ounce. An attempt by brothers Nelson Bunker Hunt, William Herbert Hunt, and Lamar Hunt, also known as the Hunt brothers, tried to corner the silver market. Okay. Alright, in 1979, okay, the base price of silver was $6.08 per ounce, and that was January 1st, 1979. That was what silver price was at the very beginning of the year. By January 18th, 1980, okay, an increase of 713%, with silver futures reaching an all-time high of $50.35 per troy ounce, so in 1 year. So the Hunt brothers were trying to corner the market. And in the last 9 months of 1979, the Hunt brothers were estimated to be holding over 1 million troy ounces of silver in several large silver futures contracts. The brothers were estimated to be holding 1/3 of the entire world supply of silver not held by governments. So, what happened? On January 7th, 1980, in response to the Hunt's accumulation, the exchange rules regarding leverage were changed at COMEX, adopted Silver Rule 7, which placed heavy restrictions on the purchase of commodities on margin, just like back in the stock market crash 29. Margin means that they're borrowing to purchase these future contracts. The Hunt brothers had borrowed heavily to finance their purchases, and the price began to fall, dropping over 50% in 4 days. They were unable to meet their obligations, causing a panic. So what they had was called a margin call. They said, okay, you got these contracts and futures. I'm not quite sure how it works. But a margin call means, you got it on credit. Well, now we want to get paid. And they couldn't do it. And then, like they're saying, the price dropped. Okay? The Hunts had invested heavily in futures contracts through several brokers, including brokerage firm Bosch, Hasley, Stewart, Shields, later Prudential, Bosch Securities, and then Prudential Securities. When the price of silver dropped below their minimum margin requirement, they were issued a margin call for $100 million. The Hunts were unable to meet the margin call, and then the brothers were facing a potential $1.7 billion loss. Ensuing panic, which felt in the financial markets in general, as well as commodities and futures. Many government officials feared that the Hunts would be unable to meet their debts. Some large Wall Street brokerage firms and banks might collapse. So does any of this sound familiar to you? Oh, holy hell is breaking loose. To save the situation, a consortium of U.S. banks provided $1.1 billion line of credit to the brothers, which allowed them to pay Bosch, and in turn survived the ordeal. Okay, the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission later launched an investigation into the Hunt brothers, who failed to disclose that in fact they held a 6.5 stake in Bosch. Okay. All right, so the aftermath. Over $1 billion. The Hunts lost over $1 billion to this incident, but families' fortunes survived. They pledged most of their assets, including stakes in Placid Oil, as collateral and to the rescue loan package they obtained. However, the value of their assets, many holdings in oil, sugar, real estate, declined steadily during the 80s, and their estimated wealth declined from $5 billion in 1980 to less than $1 billion in 1988. By 1982, okay, in a year, silver fix has collapsed 90% to $4.90 per troy ounce. So that gives you the time and how this all went. I remember this. We didn't call it Silver Thursday, we called it the Gold Rush, because gold also went up. Oh, I forgot about that. I missed that section. Okay, at this time, okay, and this is where they tell you the differential and how this was like the reverse. When silver went up that high, okay, that day gold peaked at $8.50 an ounce, and the gold-silver ratio was reduced to 1 to 17. Okay, 1 to 17. I think it's 1 to almost 90 now, or was, or something like that, the gold-silver ratio. 1 to 17 is what it was. And when silver went up, so did gold. I forget what gold, I know when silver got back down to $4 an ounce, I mean gold was only $300 an ounce or so when I bought some in 1986 or something. So, to go up to $8.50, and I remember that. So this is kind of a repeat, and it's showing you how it was done. This is before the internet, this is before computer trading and all this other stuff. And also you ask yourself, what the hell were people selling? Okay, you got to remember, Eagles, U.S. minted coins. President Nixon took us off the gold standard in 71, 72, and I think that made it to where we could legally own gold again. But what were you going to buy? All the coins were melted down, okay, and I believe some people told me that they bought Krugerrands. Where you'd buy them or whatever, and whenever I went to coin shops, when I was a kid, I don't remember seeing silver or gold bullion or, maybe you would find, well, it was illegal to own U.S. coins, so they weren't in the counter back then, so, I don't know, I don't remember. See, I was getting nickels, dimes, halves, what a teenage kid collected. I wasn't buying those high dollar items. So, you ask yourself, when this started, what were people selling or what was going on? I mean, I'll show you what the whole commotion was and how things went. All right, so you ask, what were people selling? If we weren't minting eagles and that, something like this poured bar, I never remember seeing silver bars, or I didn't buy them. Okay, what people had was what you call now constitutional silver. These silver dollars, okay, these are never recalled. They just stopped minting them, and people kept the old silver hard money. My family owned a store back in the day when a lot of this probably was used in the store. And when they started to cut back on minting these and people paid in paper money, they just put away a ton of these silver coins. And then, in the 60s, when they went off silver coins in 1964, people just would save them. Actually, I was talking to a guy, we were talking about coins, a guy that's 94. He told me for years he would take his paycheck, go to the bank, buy rolls of dimes, quarters, and nickels with his paycheck, go to the house on a weekend, sit through there, pull all the silver coins out and throw them into a bucket, rewrap the coins and take them back. And he said after a short period of time, he said he had like a 5-gallon pail full of silver coins, which he put away. So what people were selling in that shop, they were coming in with, like I said, now it's called constitutional silver, it's just silver coins. So you'd sell these and people would pay you X amount for them, like something like this Morgan. I think at one point in time when I sold some, it'd be like you'd go in with a Morgan in nice shape, and they give you $7.50, $8 for it, depending. And it was connected to the price of silver. Okay, so when silver was high, people were, trading these for quite a bit. When silver was $40 an ounce or something. So if it wasn't silver coins, it would be rings, jewelry, necklaces is how people had silver. And then we can't forget sterling. And this is actually a piece I saved when I worked in these places. If you look at this base here, it's all beat up. And it's marked on here, sterling silver, reinforced. It's called weighted sterling. The bowl itself is just a sterling silver, piece of sheet metal. The base is pretty thin, and what happens is they fill this with resin or plaster, so it's weighted. Okay, it's called weighted silver. And what I would have to do is they would go to antique stores and garage sales and that and buy this. And then what I would do is I would take it and smash this up. This was slated to be destroyed. Smash this base, get the plaster out, and then just take the metal itself and throw it in a box. And there were candelabras, all kinds of stuff that, was damaged, old stuff that they recycled, they put aside, and then we'd strip it down just to the bare sterling and then sell it, and then it would go to a refiner. So you had either the sterling silverware or the flatware. It was very popular to have your knives, forks, and that dinner settings in sterling, and that was actually a sign of wealth. My family didn't have it. All the stuff my parents and that had was plated, which plated silver is different, okay, than sterling silver. But flatware was another thing, and that's what people were doing. When it went up so high, people were just selling mostly things like this, jewelry, sterling silver, knives, forks. I think one video where the guy said the knives and forks were stainless, but the fancy handles were sterling, and you got to yank the handle, the sterling part off, and separate it and send that to the refiner. And that's where a lot of it come from. And I've seen a lot of stuff come through that shop, but mostly the constitutional coins. And you had, coin dealers and stuff like that. If they were selling bullion, and see, this is when it changed. Coin dealers more or less bought and sold the coins, coin collections, and you'd go in there and have an assortment of different dates. If you were collecting Morgans and things like that. I never was interested in per se bullion, so until later on, after they're making eagles, I'd buy eagles, and then I would buy little 1 ounce bars or rounds and stuff like that. So I think I remember reading an article where most coin dealers became bullion dealers. A bullion dealer was somebody a little bit different than the average coin dealer back in the day, talking 40 years ago. Okay. And then he said overnight, with the increase, all coin dealers ended up being bullion dealers. And like now, constitutional silver is bought and sold, but what you find most people buying is bullion, because that's the way to hold your silver or gold for the monetary end of it. It's not a collector's item. It's not dated. Okay, it's not government issued coinage. It's just silver. Okay, a commodity. All right, so that's my thoughts on it. I'll do a conclusion. All right, so that's our little history lesson, and I was there to see it. And like they say, if you don't study history and understand it, history will repeat itself again. And to me, there's a lot of indicators, a lot of the situations right now, again, like I said, and the whole thing with the Hunt brothers, they said the rumor was they were accumulating all of that silver, okay, 1/3 of the world's free supply, because there was a Middle Eastern country, don't know which one, but the only one I can think of would be Saudi Arabia, was going to back their currency with silver. Some country was looking to back their currency with silver. Now, if you put all of this together from back then, which is a 17, 18-year-old kid, I could care less, you see all of this happening again. No matter whose channel you're watching, Ron's Basement, whatever, BRICS, the economy, everything else, it's the same thing again. And now it makes you wonder, is it going to happen like this? Is it going to go up out of control and come slamming back down? Okay. I don't know. All I know is what happened back then, and now people give you the cause and the reason. There's been laws enacted, okay, where you can't borrow that money like they did and try to do that anymore. But you never know. And this last thing, they said when we had that silver dip about 3-4 months ago, that J.P. Morgan went and bought 1/3. I seen a guy, he bought 1/3 of contracts for the world silver supply. And that's where people said that's how they manipulate the market. Of course, that bank has more money and they can't afford to move so many billions of dollars. Okay, they can do it. It's one of the largest financial institutions in the country. Okay. So that's my thoughts on it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed me reminiscing about the old days. So hit the like button, and please subscribe. I want to try to get this channel off the ground, and I'll be bringing you more content along these lines. Alright, thank you.